A heat wave is coming that means business. I'm meteorologist Don Paul. Welcome to my podcast, Don Paul's Bits o' Blather on weather, climate, and some real deal heat, the likes of which we haven't encountered here in Western New York in quite some time, starting Monday. In the meantime, enjoy the next couple of days with a beautiful weekend, which will be seen in the future by, let's say, Tuesday and Wednesday as an oasis, which has since vanished. Saturday, temperatures reaching the low 70s, low humidity, abundant sunshine, mostly sunny, a very light northeast breeze, wave heights averaging a foot or less on Lake Erie, occasionally a few 2 foot swells on Lake Ontario, and then a gentle start to the warm up on Sunday with still low humidity. A light southeast to south flow will boost temperatures to the low 80s. A weak flow, so right along the Lake Ontario shoreline, it may be a few degrees cooler with the warm air not quite reaching up to the Wilson and, let's say, Youngstown shorelines. But the heat is on starting Monday. A warm front will pass through, and newest guidance suggests, although we often say never trust a warm front, that this one will come through dry and we'll have some partly cloudy conditions Sunday night as the front approaches, partly to mostly sunny on Monday as the front goes by, and temperatures take a jump along with dew points to readings reaching the upper 80s and dew points reaching the upper 60s. It will start to become rather uncomfortable, and that's just the beginning. By Tuesday, we're looking at a high temperature getting up to the low 90s inland from Lake Erie, with a bit of a breeze to help downtown and the Lake Erie shoreline. As this heat builds during the week, it does not appear that there's going to be that much of a helpful breeze. So, this is, by most definitions, the makings of a real heat wave by Western New York standards. Dew points reaching into the low 70s by Tuesday and Wednesday. Actual air temperatures on Wednesday could reach the mid 90s, with the heat index heading toward the upper 90s. Now, this kind of heat humidity would be seen as a gift in parts of the Gulf states, but around here we're not acclimated to it. And because it has staying power, it's going to be stressful on those who don't have access to air conditioning, because overnight low temperatures, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and probably Thursday nights, not getting out of the 70s, which means upper level apartments, very stressful environment for the elderly or for infants or those with chronic heart or lung disease, a stressful period. And we're looking at Wednesday probably being the absolute hottest of the hot days, but no real improvement on Thursday, low 90s. Again, heat indices reaching the mid 90s. Generally, with a southwest flow, the hottest locations in terms of climatology tend to be to the north of the metro area, into parts of Niagara and Orleans counties, where that southwest wind doesn't cross the Lake Erie waters, and you can get some of the heating off the Niagara Peninsula. And that can go all the way up to the Lake Ontario shoreline when you have this kind of a southwest flow. By Friday, we're looking at a high coming down to around 90. And that means you can say this heat humidity hangs in right through Friday. It does appear that the upper level heat dome, and I'll explain what that is in a moment, will begin to recede to the south and weaken as we get into next weekend, with some relief developing, a little tinge of it on Saturday, probably upper 80s, just a bit more comfortable by Sunday. We're not talking about radical cooling, but we'll be out of the so-called heat wave. Now, a heat dome is a dome of high barometric pressure that stacks up in the atmosphere, and dry air actually sinks because it is of greater density, and as it sinks, it heats up the air below by compression. And a heat dome of this type is a little unusual to stay this long in Western New York, but it does look like it will be peaking this week, and then, as I said, receding by next weekend, especially by Sunday. Now, we're not talking about a radical cool down. We're not going back to the chill we had earlier this past week, but somewhat more comfortable conditions. I know there are some of you who say, oh, I just dig that heat and humidity. Well, it doesn't matter what you dig. We will get what the laws of physics dictate, but I've never gotten the attraction to feeling hot and sticky. I don't get it. But If you like it, so be it. But again, if you have elderly relatives, look in on them, please, during this extended period of heat and humidity. Very little in the way of precipitation coming up this next week, too. Not that we currently need rainfall, but fields are going to be drying out quite a bit this week despite the humidity. And that also goes for gardens. So you're going to want to keep an eye on your vegetation and get those sprinklers going. So that's the basic picture. The hottest week we've had in a long time, with most days after Monday's 88 to 89 degree high will be in the 90s the rest of the week through Friday, with only slight cooling next weekend. I'll keep you updated on social media, Facebook and Twixter, and I hope you will share this and continue to stay in touch with this podcast and social media. Talk to you soon.